Hello everybody and welcome to the World's Worst Let's Play tier list edition of the Echoes of Wisdom Dungeons and Bosses. I recently played through the game, finished it about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Took me about 30 hours. Not a bad game, but definitely not my favorite Zelda game by any means. I really kind of want to play through it maybe one more time. Only using like one level echoes, see how difficult the game is. But hey, we're not talking about that right now, because it's time for tier list, baby. I got my stuff here, custom tier list made by me, yours truly. You know how I do things. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started so this video isn't forever long. Let's see. So first up, we're gonna go with Southern Ruins. Spoilers up ahead. If you haven't played the game, I will be just talking openly about my experience with it and everything there within. So just heads up on that. Anyway, Southern Ruins is the first dungeon you encounter. It is 100% a tutorial dungeon. That being said, there were actually some decent puzzles inside. I'm just going to be looking at my notes here because I had to remember everything about how all these work. Let's see. There's like right at the beginning, it's kind of annoying because it's got a giant rock, and that's when they teach you can like link to things, and then you kind of got to use that for the rest of the dungeon. Not bad, but just kind of annoying that because it. So hear me out. I see this big rock, right? You walk into a room, you got a big rock, and then something over here where you obviously have to get to. I spent a good 5 minutes trying to get around that dang rock, and it turns out all you got to do is walk up to it and hit A button, and tries like, hey, you can move that, and I was like, dumb. So that was kind of stupid. Not gonna lie, but other than that, honestly, it's a pretty good one. There was another puzzle in there that was a statue that you had to move and get up on a block, and I don't know what was wrong with my brain, but I could not for the life of me figure it out. Like, it really stumped me for another like 5-10 minutes or so, just like, what am I doing here? And you don't have that many echoes, right? So it's just kind of it's a good starter dungeon, I'm not gonna lie. And then of course you have the battle, the midway boss, whatever you want to call it, is Link in like echo form where he's got the sword, and that was not an easy fight. Fortunately, I got the P hat before going in, and I just kind of spammed that and threw pots at him, and it worked. But I felt really helpless. It was actually kind of terrifying. And for that, it's actually pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm actually gonna put this up in B tier. I don't think I can do too much better than that because it is like the tutorial dungeon. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. And as you can see, we're actually gonna go ahead and move on to the bosses after I place the dungeon. So Seismic Talus is the first boss of the game. Again, you do find him in Southern Ruins. Really simple. He's got a thing in him. You gotta rip it out and then hit it with a bunch of stuff. Rinse and repeat. You're easy to go. I will let you guys know ahead of time that I did go through the game 100%, which means I did fight through the boss rush several times, trying to get things. So a lot of these bosses I am very familiar with. Seismic Talus is one that you can beat in literally less than a minute when you got the good stuff. But at first, I think I just had to throw a bunch of snakes at it. I didn't have anything great, and it's not a bad boss. Again, it makes me want to put it in B tier, but because it is so easy, I'm gonna put it down to C. I'll leave it at B. You know, I'll leave it at B for both because honestly, it is a pretty solid boss. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really easy, but it's a first boss, right? Like most of the bosses in Zelda games are not difficult in the first dungeon. So I'm not going to fault it for that. Maybe drop it down to C, though, because it is so easy. High C. Maybe low B. We'll see at the end. We'll see. Okay, so these are in the order that I completed them throughout my story, because once you get through the first tutorial dungeon, you do have an option, a split, if you will, to go to Jabal Ruins to the north, or Gerudo Sanctum to the west, and I did go to Jabul Ruins. So let's see, what did I say about that? So first of all, this is the section where you get the water block, which was, I don't know about you, but my most used echo throughout the entire game. A million times over was the water block, because once I got it, I would just like go up, go over, and just spam the crap out of it. Like, I used it so much. So for that, I love it just for that. I will say that I hate the underwater mechanic for this game. It is awful. On the overworld, not bad. Just swim around, come up, swim around. In a dungeon, when it goes 2D section, you have to constantly monitor your breathing, because you have a breath meter that just goes, and it goes done so fast. And it's like you're constantly trying to look for little bubbles everywhere, and they're not just everywhere. And it's just really annoying, because most of the time, on top of that, it's also dark, and you only have these crystals, and you have to get the echo for like the anglerfish to light up a tiny area, and you're constantly just spamming anglerfish, which don't do combat. So let me just say, I can't stand the combat for underwater in this game. Like, the combat overall is just iffy for me, because you kind of stick with like one thing and just use it the entire game, and it's a little stale. Maybe that's just me, I don't know, but like the underwater combat just completely kills me every time I had to do literally anything. It just wasn't fun. Let's see. I will say, I do like at the beginning of the Jabul Ruins dungeon, it does have like a little section where the boss comes out and like creates a giant whirlpool, and you gotta like run from it. That's pretty cool. It creates like a nice sense of urgency right out the gate, which is really neat. You get to see the boss before you actually fight it, and I like that in games. So it does get a point there. That being said, let's see. I did also really like, let's see. I did like the platforming section where you gotta like climb up a river. Like, all the boards are coming down. You gotta like hop from one to one. I always like that in games. I don't know why. It's just a simple platforming thing, but I adore it. That being said, Jabul Ruins, I'm sorry, you are definitely in D tier. The underwater is just garbage. I can't stand it. Speaking of garbage, Vocavor, I don't know what to call him. Don't care enough to know what to call him. He is going in F tier. I can't stand this boss. Okay, so hear me out. There's also like no good underwater echoes for combat whatsoever. Period. None. They all suck. They're all bad. So this guy, he appears in an area where like it's got like a U shape for water, and he goes in the water, and you have to like chase him down, hit him on his back, and there's like nothing that's fast to hit him more than once. So I'm constantly spamming a shark trying to get to him, and it just takes forever. And then when you turn into sword mode, so spoilers if you didn't know, once you get the sword from Shadow Link in the first dungeon, you can then transform into like an Echo of Link and like use the sword for a limited amount of time. And you can't even do that for this boss, because as soon as it jumps underwater, your sword's completely useless, and it's just constantly going in like a circle of underwater and over water. And then it's just annoying when you fight it underwater so many times. I think it's like twice. You pop all its back zits or whatever. It comes up onto land, but not on land. It's like, here's the ground, and then here's him up here, so you can't like jump and slash, and you have like no, it's just awful. I hate it so much. Like, even when I had to refight him in the boss fights and everything, I dreaded it every time I saw him. I'm like, I do not like you. You are horrible. Just awful. Didn't like him. Very low for me. I hope I never have to fight him again, truthfully. Gerudo, whatever, Sanctum. Lots of sand. Lots and lots of sand. Let's start with the positive here. Let's see. Is there a positive? I do like the timing puzzles when you had to like pull out a thing and then run to get up somewhere. So that was kind of cool. Trying to figure out how to do that. There weren't a lot of them though. It like did it one time, maybe twice. It did it like 2 times in that dungeon, and then it never did it again for the rest of the game, which was very weird, honestly. Let's see. I really liked the chest, the big chest puzzle at the end of the dungeon, because it was like a big ring, and you had to like change the things. It was so easy, but it was still cool. It was refreshing to do something a little different. This one did a lot with the rotation of things. Like so when you grab onto something, you can either move it around, but if it's a stationary thing, you can turn it. And that was kind of the main point of this dungeon, I guess. So that was kind of cool. It's a little bit different. I did like the giant plug at the end of it to just let all the sand sink at the end to where to reveal the boss door. That was kind of cool. Things I didn't like. It was a lot of dumb, because like the 4 echoes that you get in the entire game are just statues that you only need 2 of for the entire game, and they're this dungeon. This dungeon has a section that says you need 2 specific statues, but we're gonna give you 4 for some reason. It's not randomized, it's always the same every time, so it's really dumb. Like, why bother with that other than padding your dungeon? Like, you didn't have enough to put in it, so you just made it. It's dumb. I don't like it, because then they just sat there. Like, I'm never gonna use these. It's dumb. I hated it. I don't like having to blow sand around a lot, because it's just spamming a blower and then just carrying it around everywhere. Like, at some points it was fun, but most of the time it was just annoying. I didn't care for it all that much. You do fight Link a second time to get the arrows. And yeah, I didn't like the arrow fight either, because it took me forever to hit him with anything. And finally I get him, and he splits into like 4 different things. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to do this times 4 now? This is annoying, because everything just dies because he just shoots him from afar. And it's annoying. I didn't like it. And I didn't even like use arrows that much after the fact either. Like, for Ganon fight, maybe, spoilers, but like that's pretty much it. Like, I didn't use it for like anything. Last thing, also the fire pillars, I call them, but like the things that blow fire. Pretty much anything that blows something in this game is really annoying, because the hitboxes are just not there. Like, I swear I would have a rock right here, and I'd go to push it up, and I'd just get hurt and catch on fire. And it was awful, because fire in this game is terrible. You catch on fire, and you stay on fire, and it's annoying, because they give you a spin ability, right? Where you can spin. I'm spinning. Where you can do a little spin, and it doesn't put you out. You still burn for like a second or 2, and I think that's just so dumb. Like, why do they give you that ability that doesn't do anything at all? It's so dumb, and it's just annoying. That being said, I'm gonna put Gerudo in, also in D. I think I did prefer it to Jabul though, because again, the underwater is absolute garbage. Can't stay in the underwater sections. It's just not good. Mogriff, the boss of this solid D tier. I can't stand him, because you can't hit him for the majority of things. So he starts out in the ground and starts slashing at you, so you got to run up, hit him with something. But then when you do that, he climbs up out of the ground with wings, flies around, so most things can't hit him. Again, you can't even hit him unless you jump up and hit him. And again, early game, you don't have the sword echo that long, or the arrows for that matter, that you just got. You just can't even use them that much. And it just takes so long to kill him, because you have to constantly keep chasing him down. And it's just a long, drawn-out fight that I do not enjoy. I got pretty good at killing him towards the end of the game, because I got the Lionel echo and just like held it up and let him just go to town. But gosh, it was really annoying. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Let's see, Hyrule Castle. So when you go back in after doing the first 3 dungeons, you have to go into the Hyrule Castle to save some people and do stuff. And honestly, it's just a huge section of stealth. Like at the beginning of the game, the very, very beginning of the game, to get out of the castle, you have to do a little stealth section with like moving boxes and things. Basically, you just trap them in and avoid them altogether. And it's annoying that I had to do that. Like, I definitely like a Zelda game more with combat, that I can just go in, hack and slash everything, which is why I'm kind of off with this game in total. It just feels weird having to like use things that aren't just a sword to kill things. Like, it's very bizarre to me. So I didn't care for that. I don't like stealth section really in any game, and this one just felt all the same. I would just push boxes around them and they couldn't get me. And then if they did touch you, it wasn't just return to the section. You had to go to a whole different screen and battle stuff. The only good thing is that if you did it once, you didn't have to do it again. They just gave you a warp point. And I'm like, what's even the point? Like, what was the point of that? Let's see. There was another dark exploration, a dark underwater section, and it's just awful again. Like same thing as the first time, just horrible, not fun. And overall the dungeon was really boring actually. So I'm gonna put it like, I didn't hate it like Jabul, but it wasn't exciting either. So I'm gonna put it under Gerudo in D. If I can get this thing to cooperate with where I want these to go. Right? D. That sounds accurate. Yeah. Because it's boring. Like, it wasn't fun. I guess it wasn't bad. It was just boring. So maybe C tier. Because it's not bad. It was boring. Meh. Low C. Low C. Ganon fight. I actually really like the Ganon fights. I mean, sure, they're very similar to A Link to the Past. But like that game is a classic for a reason. And the different attacks it can use are pretty cool. Even though you can spam it a bunch, it still feels like a more challenge. I definitely got hit a lot more often than like any other boss, I feel like. Well, I say any, but like the majority of them didn't really touch me, whereas Ganon, I really had to actually go in and fight, and it felt like an actual power struggle, and it was cool. I liked that. I like Ganon fights typically most of the time anyway, and this is just more of the same. If you fought one, you fought a bunch, honestly, but it's still a good fight. So Eastern Palace and Hidden Ruins are basically the same concept for a dungeon, just done twice with different challenges. So the first one is Eastern Palace, where you basically have to guide spark guys around the thing to enter into a box. The music is really fun. It's like a game show when it comes on. And it's like the only dungeon that ever does anything different. Like severely different, where you don't have to fight anything, you just have to get these things into their holes. And it's actually a really fun puzzle that I actually found really challenging. And then the Hidden Ruins doubles down on that and does it in a 2D plane, so it's even harder. You don't have the 3D to work with, you just got to make them in like the one screen. So honestly, I'm gonna go with A tier, high A tier, because it was actually really fun to do that and get a fresh thing. It's not one of the main dungeons, it is one of the side like mini dungeons, but I'll include it because it did feel like an actual legit dungeon. The boss for both of these is Smog. So the thing with Smog is that he starts out with this big green cloud, and the more you hit him, eventually he bursts into a bunch of little things and turns into a wall following cloud thing, and you have to move stuff around the room to make the clouds collide into each other until he's the big thing again. You fight him again and repeat the step. But honestly, it's again a different fight. It's not just boring. It was interesting, you know. Definitely not A tier, but solid B tier for me. I did enjoy it, just to try to rack my brain a little bit. And he almost killed me a couple times in both dungeons because I wasn't paying too much attention. A lot fewer on the second one of his dungeons because I kind of knew what was going on by that point. But the first one really threw me, and I was a little lost, but I had fun. Let's see, Land Mola I kind of even didn't want to put in here because you find it in the middle of the Gerudo Desert and have to fight it, but it's one of like the 3 mini bosses in the middle of the game that gives you heart pieces. So I went ahead and included it. It's very, very boring. It's not bad, it's just boring. So I'll put it bottom of C tier. Because you just have to follow it around, avoid its attacks, and then pull its butt so it flips over or something like that, and then you attack it. But like, it's over in a few seconds. It does not last long at all. It's very, very lame. It's just having to find it's kind of difficult too, because you enter in and suddenly a sandstorm appears and you got to like walk around the desert with no map to just try to find where the thing spawns. It's weird, but it is what it is. Wreck Ship is another one of those. So there is a ship at the very beginning of the game that you can explore, but you can't go into. You just kind of hang out there, and then later in the game, they're like, "Oh, you can actually go in this. It's like a mini dungeon." It's like, "Oh, cool! I love pirate ships." Well, it's just a lot of crates that you got to break, and a lot of underwater sections that you got to go through, and it's just kind of really lame. Like, it's more boring than C. Like, it's almost not even a mini dungeon with how short it is. It's actually so short. I think it's only like 6 screens or something. Like, it's very, very short. It doesn't have a map or anything. It's a mini dungeon, but it's also a kind of lame mini dungeon because you're just, again, breaking crates and then going underwater. But it does have a boss. Is that Bori? I think it's Bori. Yeah. Basically, an electric jellyfish. Think whatever the third boss is in Ocarina of Time. Baronade. Think of it like that, but a lot easier. Literally did almost nothing to me. I just spammed something and kept hitting it, and it didn't do much of anything. So again, really boring. Not really much of a challenge whatsoever. I think I might actually put it in D because it's... Nah, I'll leave it at C because it wasn't annoying. It was just, again, boring. I mean, that's what the most of this game was to me. It was just a lot of... just the same old over and over again. Of just like not really doing many fun things. Just walking around spamming water blocks. And maybe it's more on me. Maybe I played it wrong. I don't know. But I feel like it's just... should have been something more, you know? Open world Zelda is great for 3D. I don't want it in my 2D. I don't know. It felt like I was always just walking and never doing anything. I don't know. Anyway, so once you do that, then you open up another split after Hyrule Castle to do any order of these three: the Faron Temple, Lanayru, and Eldin Temple. I started with Faron. I didn't mean to. I think there was just a lot of rifts down there, and I wanted to get them taken care of to up my try ability. So I went ahead and started there. Let's see. So the whole thing, before you can even enter this dungeon, is that you have to go to jail and get your wand taken away. So you can no longer produce echoes. You have to go, again, kind of like a stealth section, but this time you don't have your echoes to spam and block things in, and it's just annoying. I hated it. I didn't like it at all. Not a single bit. It was just annoying, and I had to backtrack to get the things that I couldn't get at first. No, didn't like it. So then you enter into the temple, and let me tell you, I really don't like this temple. It's huge. So you go in, right, and start the temple, and there's like 5 entrances right away, and you're like, well, great, where do I start? And even though you have a map that goes like to here and here and here, it's so easy to get lost. Like, there are so many times that I ended up at the end of the dungeon before I was supposed to get there, so I had to backtrack all the way to the beginning just to then finish again in the end. Like, it made it a little simpler because you can teleport within the dungeon to certain sections using whatever teleportation things they have, but it's still really annoying when that happens because I was trying to do it in such a way, and it just kept getting more annoying. Like, I spent so long in that dungeon, and I was just actually angry at one point because I just couldn't figure out what the heck I was supposed to do. I mean, it's just, I didn't like it at all. Honestly, a lot of the, I'm looking at my notes, a lot of the enemy puzzles were revolved around the Armos, where you had to like time them correctly, and that was just horrible. I did not like that at all because you had to constantly just spam them until you got it right, and it was very annoying. I didn't like it. The water flow puzzles were awful. So you'd have an underwater section, again, where you had to manage health, or not health, but breathing, but they had a constant flow, and you had to figure out your way around it and to follow it, and it took me so long to get through one just to realize I did it completely wrong because I entered the wrong direction. Like, I had to do this dungeon so many times over, like, return to same areas because I just kept skipping things because I went the wrong way, but it doesn't give you, like, a proper way to go. Like, it's just really annoying. Like, again, open world, great for 3D, not great for 2D Zelda. It's just awful. Let's see, a lot of the dungeon was going in of places and then back out of places, having to, like, walk around and figure out what to do. And it's just, I didn't like it. Not for me at all. Manhandla was the mini boss. And so, again, I made it all the way to the end of the dungeon where you're supposed to fight Manhandla a second time. So guess who didn't fight it the first time and had to walk all the way back to get to it? Fought it, no problem. Went, teleported back, tried to fight it the second time. Second time, you have to use bombs. Something I haven't talked about in this video. So your main source of bombs in this game is the bomb fish, which is really annoying because you can place it and he'll just flop away. So you have to place it and then hold it for a few seconds so that it actually explodes on what you want it to. And when you have a mini boss that requires to eat bombs that are placed in a very specific spot, and it aims to grab them, but a bomb is constantly moving around while you're also trying not to get hit, is so dumb. I did not like it at all, because I had not done the part where I get the bombs from Link yet, so I just had to rely on those, and it was horrible. Just awful. Like, it wasn't fun. It just was not fun at all. There was, I will give it this, there was some cool parts of it. There was a part where everything was dark and you had to guide it with flames or lanterns, or not lanterns, but like the torch. And I liked that. Dark sections underwater, garbage. Dark sections above land when you can actually control and spawn multiple different things, great. I love that. I love having to find my way out in the dark. It's really cool. There was also the weight puzzles, with the exception of the Armos ones, because again, they suck. But there was weight puzzles where you could like weigh down a part and something else would come up. It reminded me a lot of the Temple of Time in Twilight Princess. Low-key my favorite game ever, and that was kind of cool. All that being said, it is still going in F tier for me. I didn't like it at all. Could not stand that dungeon whatsoever. Not a fan. Not a fan at all. I'm sure if I did it a different order and had bombs for at least that part of it, it might have been nicer, but like, nah, hard pass. Everything was just way too much. With the boss of this was Goma. So Goma's story is that it's basically a spider on the wall. You have to electrify it 3 different times, and then it'll fall. You can hit it, then it crawls around, tries to hit you with stuff. You still gotta electrocute it, flip it over, repeat, rinse, repeat. Do the same. Not a bad fight. Pretty simple. A little bit of a challenge. I'll definitely put it at B. Not as fun as Smog, but still not bad. I would just spam electric keys and just attack it constantly, and then spam my big attacking thing at the time and just wallop it, turn to sword, get a few extra slashes in. Not bad, not terrible. Let's see. Okay, so next was Lanayru Temple, which is this snow area. But here's the kicker. It's not just snow, because a lot of the things have these giant fans in them. And say you have a pool of water. Well, it requires you to bring this little ball of ice to a generator that turned on the fan to blow ice everywhere, and it would freeze the water. Other parts where everything was frozen, you had to bring a hot ball to a generator to melt the ice, and it was really cool. There were a lot of puzzles like that where you had to decide what to do, and the challenge was to move around a ball without hitting anything, so it changed, because if it started as a heat ball and you passed a wind frosty thing, it would turn into a frost ball and you wouldn't be able to use it anymore, so you had to restart. So that was kind of cool. It really worked your brain on how to move things around, and to really just to go hot or cold. I really liked that. Let's see. Frost pillars in there. Again, stuff that blows is awful, because the hitboxes were just never there for me. Every time I tried to, like, there's a part where there's like 3 of them in a row, and you have to like climb past them. But every time I got close, it would just shoot me back down, and I'm like, I am not touching it, and it was really annoying. Let's see. The mini boss of this one was horrible. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like the mini boss. So it's a giant blob, basically, and you have to freeze it and then attack it. I spent way longer trying to fight this thing than I needed to, and I still don't even remember how I managed to do it, because I didn't have any good freezing enemies. Even though I was in the frosty area, I didn't have anything good to freeze it. Like, everything would just get beaten immediately. And every time you hit it, it would split, and it did that like 3 times. So we're talking like having to kill probably 12 different little blob things like that, and it was just really tedious and annoying. But that being said, overall, I actually really liked the Lanayru Temple. I think I'm actually going to put it at A tier. like high A tier, because I really like the hot cold thing, because there was a part where you had to roll a big snowball at the end, and you had to go back and forth with hot and cold. But before you could even do that, you had to go through different rooms where you could you had to figure out if it needed to be hot or cold and go back and forth. It was just cool. I really liked it. I really liked that. I totally forgot about Jabba Ruins, by the way, of the main part being that you had this section of like 5 different ways to go, and you had to go to every single way to unlock more water to get through, and it's just dumb. I didn't like it. Just another jab at Jabba real quick. Scorchill, the boss of Lanayru. So this guy is a big Yeti, right? With a helmet on, and it's icy helmet, so he breathes, like, he creates ice stuff, or he can just hit you. So you throw fire stuff at him. You gotta hit him, and you gotta pull off. You gotta hit him like 3 times, I think. Then you gotta pull off his helmet. Then you get to attack him. Then he puts on another helmet that's a fire helmet. So then you gotta attack him with ice stuff. And while he's doing that, he's breathing fire at you. So you gotta do that 3 times. You gotta pull off the helmet. You gotta attack him. Then at the end, he puts on a completely helmet that swaps back and forth between ice and fire. So you don't know what he's doing. And he's doing both attacks at the same time. And I really liked this fight. Like, I actually had a challenge with it the first time I fought him. And I don't know why. I could not, for the life of me, get him to stop hitting me, where I got like hit stunned, and I was still having a really good time, because I really loved not being able to fully predict what I had to do and really like work on the fly. It got a lot easier in the subsequent boss rush, because I had both frost and fire Wizrobe, so I could just spam them and get through it a lot faster. But the first time was actually really difficult, and I enjoyed it a great bit. I liked the extra challenge. The last main temple that I did was Elden Temple. Let's see. Basically, your typical fire temple. I'm never really a big fan of fire temples. They're usually dreary, really red and anger-inducing, and I just, a lot of it, you had to use this one echo, which is just a giant lava rock. And it costs 3 try, which typically at this point of the game, because I did everything possible, mind you, I still only had the ability to produce 1 at a time. And it was so annoying. It might have even been 4 tries, because now I think back, I think I had 6. It was so annoying. You could only do 1 at a time, and it required it everywhere. It was horrible. It was like 50% that, 50% flying puzzles. And by flying puzzles, I mean a giant gust of wind where you had to produce like a bat or a bird or something and just soar. And that was it. It wasn't much of a puzzle. It was just annoying that that's all it was. Again, the air holes, because they blow out hot steam, similar to the fire and the cold blowers that I talked about before. Hitboxes were terrible, and I just got wrecked on them so bad. I just wanted to climb this one part, and I kept getting hit by it, and it took me so long. And I'm like, this is so dumb. I hate everything about this. I was not having a good time. Again, lava and fire are horrible in this game, because you catch on fire and then you just stay on fire forever, and you just constantly take damage. I had to pull out the bed and sleep so many times in that, just from fire damage, because I couldn't do anything. It was annoying. I will say that in this one, you do fight the bomb version of Link Echo, which is a giant room full of bombable blocks. And it's just you and him. But at this point, I think it's called a Beery, which is a flying thing that just spits out bombs constantly. And I just spammed the room with 3 of them, and they just blew up everything. I was literally just laughing, because the entire fight, I was just running around while they just kept spawning bombs everywhere. It's actually a lot of fun. That being said, this temple was not fun. Again, it's just boring. It wasn't bad. Like, I didn't hate it like the other ones. It was just really boring, honestly. I think I might actually swap Gerudo and Elden, because Gerudo wasn't terrible. It was just more annoying than anything else. But that one I just don't care for fire temples. I never have, and I probably never will. Something about them just ick for me. The boss. Let me tell you about this boss. Okay, Volvogia is the boss of Elden Temple, and I hate this boss. He's worse than Vocavor. Worse. Something about the V guys. Don't like them. Literally, this guy sucked. Okay, so you fight him, right? Same as Ocarina of Time. He appears in a little hole. You walk up to him, you hit him a few times. He goes away. He comes up. He swirls around, and then he goes down. He comes up again. You hit him a few times. He swirls around and goes away. The third time he comes up, it's in the lava. Because the stage is mostly lava, right? Can't go in the lava. So what do? I pull out this giant boulder of a thing that I've been using the entire temple, stick it in the water, jump over to hit him. He hits me, knocks me in the lava. Echo goes away. I have to respawn, and I can't hit the guy. Maybe I could have used arrows, but I was like already out of the sword energy by that point. So I was just constantly trying to spawn something to hit him to just move on to the next phase, only to realize that he then goes into the lava a second time. And it's just as annoying. I never had to fight this guy, and it didn't take me less than 5 minutes. I kid you not. And that's with the boss rush. Okay, the boss rush that only gives you 15 minutes to make it through all the bosses. And I had 5 minutes of just him. Literally horrible. I hate him. I don't enjoy him at all. I had to fight him 3 different times for the entirety of the 100%, and every time I despised it. It was not fun. Was not fun. Do not recommend. Summit Cave, it's very similar to Wreck Ship, that it's really not even a it's not even a dungeon. It's like 4 rooms of more Elden Temple stuff. So let's just throw that down here, because it's just more Elden Temple, honestly. That's it. Like, super short. It's part of like a side quest. Some stuff that you gotta burn, other stuff that you gotta fly over, and more lava rock. Just, they really like that lava rock in this game. It's awful. But that being said, the boss of this level, of this little mini dungeon, is the volcanic talus. And again, I really liked this boss. It's exactly like the seismic talus, but on fire. And you might think that doesn't sound that bad, but you have to put out the fire in order for anything to attack him, because I had Lionel, like the Lionel Echo, just trying to swing, and every time we touched him, it would just poof away immediately, and it was so annoying that I actually had to fight, and it was great. Like, I was annoyed, but I was intrigued. I was like, this is actually a battle. This is fun. I enjoy this. And I ended up just spamming the tornado guys to put him out, and then finally just whacked him with the Lionel. But it was actually a very decent challenge, and it was very refreshing, honestly, from everything else that the game had been throwing at me. Very new and interesting. Let's see. This is called a Techum. It's basically the Orby guys that float around and then split into different enemies. But this one was Zelda, so you basically were fighting yourself. I don't even remember this battle that much. I just spammed a thing a lot and didn't really care. Like, it doesn't last long at all, and it's just kind of lame. Sorry, it's just, I guess I can't put it in D because it wasn't bad, it was just boring, like really, really boring. At least this had electricity. This was just, I don't even remember it. That's how much, like, I don't remember about it. It was just really boring because I think I just used the sword and slashed and repeated, like that was it. So that was that. Then the final the final area of the game, called Naal's Body, where you go into the place and do the thing, you know. It is very short, and at the very beginning of the dungeon, Link enters with you. And you don't get to be the sword anymore. You don't get to use the arrows anymore. You don't get to use the bombs anymore. All this stuff that you've built up throughout the whole game to use a bunch, can't use it anymore. You just got to go along parallel with Link, which is cool and really annoying. Because I'm like, that was stupid. Why did I bother with all that if I don't even get to use it? So it's just, it's a lot of watching Link fight and then, like, you just figuring it out. And then there was a part where Link had to get on a ledge, and that took me so long to figure out because I just couldn't get him to listen to me. And then I watched someone else do it, and you could just cheese it by going to a certain point and then just walking back and going through with Link. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, at least it was short, you know? It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was boring but annoying because oh, that's not the right thing. It was boring and annoying. Let's go with that because again, it's just I'm gonna actually put it right here because you couldn't use your abilities and that just sucked. Like I spent all game buffing up the abilities to then not be able to use them for like the entirety of the dungeon. It's stupid. Final boss is called Null. What is this fight even? So it's you and Link again. Basically you have to grab pieces of him and hold it still while Link just slashes the crap out of an arm and breaks it off, which is pretty cool. And then it transitions into a different past enemy, like he does the Seismic Talus, the Mogriff, Goma at some points to spit out some stuff, even Ganon and Squirtle, like different things, right? And it's really cool because you just gotta avoid him. You can't attack him and he's like that. So it goes into like a second phase where he goes, it like just creeps out tentacles and you got to hold him again while he cuts, but he's throwing stuff at you constantly. It's actually somewhat challenging, but it's not bad, like at all. Like I didn't have any difficulty with it, but it was cool to get constant stuff thrown at you. And then once you do so much damage, it then changes to just you fighting him with just your echoes. So it's up to you to hold on to it and spawn an echo that can do enough damage, which pretty cool, not gonna lie. I will put it with A tier, low A tier though, because again, it was challenging. It was fun to try to get my thing to attack while also helping Link to get that extra little boost of damage in. And yeah, so I don't have any favorite dungeons out of this one. The Lanayru came the closest. This one's only really up there because it was neat, because it was new. But honestly, dungeon-wise, none of them really impressed me that much. They were all either really boring or just annoying. And it just comes down to the echoes, right? Because you can just spam the same echo over and over again and just skip things altogether. Because again, it's open world, which means skip if you want. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I like my traditional Zelda where I can get an item and then I have to use that item in ways that I saw before but couldn't figure out because I didn't know how to do it. Like, that's what I enjoy about Zelda. Please give it back. Overall, the bosses aren't bad. I mean, most of them are C and up, so that's not bad. Except for those bottom two were awful. Just the whole game ruined because of them, honestly. Just trash. One last thing, closing thought. Stamp Guy is awesome. I love him dearly, and he made me happy every time I got to see him. The stamps he gives are so funny to me. Really enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments what your most used echo was by the end of the game. I'm actually curious, because I can't be the only water block boy, right? Somebody else. Sound off in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what you agree about on this list, or what you think I did horribly wrong. I love to hear other people's opinions about this kind of stuff, and let me know if you'd ever be interested in watching me try a one try attempt to only use like level 1 tries to beat the whole game. I feel like it could be a lot of fun and very annoying. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys subscribe for more stuff that I'm doing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.